yesterday, I live in North Carolina with my husband, and our governor announced the latest plans for handling COVID. And we have done well. Staying at home has slowed the spread of COVID significantly. Our unemployment has gone through the roof. There are people struggling, and et cetera, et cetera. And so he described how he is weighing the pros and cons of different decisions. So on the one hand, keeping people safe, and on the other hand, opening up the economy and creating a different kind of safety, financial safety, the ability to put food on the table, and so on. And he described in this very level, even-handed way, the dilemma in front of him, that there's no good decision, or there are some good decisions, but they're not good for everybody necessarily, and they're not good in all aspects. And I was really struck by his self-regulation and his social intelligence. And I was reminded of a question on the Yale Coursera forum, which said, how do I lead if I don't have leadership as a high strength? And as I was reminded by this, I watched him. So this is someone I don't know. I just see him on television. He's our governor, never crossed paths with him. And I was able to take this moment to evaluate him. And interestingly, the strength of leadership itself is not one that I highlighted in the course of his presentation. Not that I don't think he has leadership, but it didn't seem to be what he was leading with. I saw honesty, because he was very straightforward about what's going on and what the process is and how we move forward from here. I saw kindness in the way he expressed concern for the people in the state, and kindness in this weighing, even though that's judgment too. There was kindness in making sure that people are as healthy as can be in all respects. There was kindness in acknowledging the challenges that people are taking on through having lost a job or whatever they may be facing. There was kindness in his acknowledgement of people who've lost people, and he expressed kindness towards the hospital staff who are doing everything they can to keep everybody healthy and safe, and have done. We're very fortunate in North Carolina that they've done extremely well. Our percentage of deaths is quite low. And I carried on watching him, and what I also saw was love of learning, which surprised me, because he made his presentation and then took questions. He invited the health secretary for the state to speak, and she's a very comfortable, very eloquent speaker. And then he took questions from the media, and he was so well informed that he fielded the questions on where we stand with testing, what the accuracy is of our various kinds of tests, how confident are we that our phased approach is going to work. And he fielded these questions very knowledgeably, very evenly, again, explained the answers, and I saw his love of learning, and he'd taken the time to understand what had been explained to him, and now he was sharing it with us in bite-sized pieces that we could understand. And I saw teamwork, because at each point he would explain something, and he would then turn to the health secretary and say, have I covered everything? Do I have that right? Please correct anything that I've misstated. And each time she said, no, Governor, you've pretty much said what I would say. It might be helpful to know this extra piece of information, or one other thing we're discovering is this. But in general, they were working well together, and he was obviously informed. And his next statement was, we're extending the lockdown to May 8th. It was until April 29th. And he had laid this foundation of information and calm and thoughtfulness. And I'd seen all these different strengths in him as he'd been talking, before he got to that point of giving us the difficult news that this isn't over yet. And he explained why and was very thorough about it. And it just brought home to me that there are so many people in the world to be grateful for. There are so many people that we can think of. I had loving gratitude feelings towards him yesterday, because he made a difference in how I experienced the next few days. And he doesn't know me. He's never met me. He doesn't even know if I vote for him. And it doesn't matter. So what I thought we would do today, just to challenge everyone, because I'm going to encourage you to look for strengths around you in everybody. I thought we could do a character strength spotting exercise. Is everybody ready? I'm going to assume everyone is, and I love doing these character strength spotting. Ryan may actually recognize this story when I read it, because it comes from a student that was on his MBSR course. We have permission to share the story. It is from a time of difficulty, not COVID. It's from a couple of years ago, from a time of difficulty where she faced a personal challenge. And there are two things I invite you to do. One is to look at the strengths on the screen in front of you. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. My screen's sharing, right, Ryan? Look at the strengths in front of you, listen to the story, and see what you see, and be really, really brave and share what you see. Because one thing I will tell you is, I have never, ever had anybody say, no, that strength is not mine, or I don't want it. They may be surprised. They may say, no one's ever said that before, but I've never had anyone say, kind. I don't want people to think that I'm kind. It doesn't happen. So every strength you hear is because you've connected to that in the story. The other thing I want you to listen out for at the end is the difference between what we see, and hopefully you can all see the chat, and what she spots in herself, because I think it is a great example of strength blindness. That when we spot strengths in other people, we're actually helping them because they don't see those strengths necessarily in themselves. So here is the story. The impact of a heart attack on my understanding of strengths and mindfulness. In last week, our second week in the course, my husband had a heart attack. He is a strong man and came walking home from work in the morning after being there for an hour or two. He said he felt heaviness in his chest and pain in the jaws and left shoulder. Did I think he should go and see a doctor? I thought so, and drove him to the hospital near us. He was immediately put on an ambulance, and I insisted I go with him, and we went to Reykjavik on blue lights. In the ambulance, we stayed relatively calm, talked and joked. I had my hand on his head to calm us both. But I will never forget the moment when I lost that calm and the reality of the situation became clear. I looked forward, as I was sitting in the behind, out of the front window, and saw the biggest road in Reykjavik, Miklabraut, empty. The police had closed all the intersections with police cars with blinking blue lights, and we drove on priority speed straight to the cardiology department. He was treated for 100% and 90% blocked coronary arteries, and in less than an hour it was all over, and he sat laughing in his hospital bed. In the meantime, I had first collapsed, shaking with tears, as soon as he was in the hands of the doctors, and then I sat and waited in a quiet room. I didn't have my phone, so I could not call on our children and parents. I decided to be in this moment, even if it was a hard one, and I sat down and turned my chair to the window and had another moment I think I will never forget. Out of the window, I saw Hallgrímskirkja, one of the defining buildings in Reykjavik. In the foreground were big bristle cone pines, and the sun was coming up because the time was between 11 and 12, and it is mostly dark in Iceland at that time of year. Lovely winter light, yellow, pink, light blue, cold but beautiful. It started snowing, these rare big snowflakes, which we call Hundslappadriffa in Icelandic, which means dog's paw snow. And even more rare, no wind. The snowflakes floated down calmly. It was such a powerful yet peaceful moment. I felt like the universe had made this scene just for me to calm down. I accepted it, looked inwards, and tried to sort out what I was feeling. Even if I was worried, I trusted he was in the best hands. Then he came up laughing, as I said, and since then, I have been overwhelmed with the feeling of gratitude. I am thankful to all the people who took part in the healthcare, the ambulance drivers, the people who stopped at the intersections. I appreciate that the weather was harmless and the roads mostly clean. In the days before, the road was closed because of snow and storm, and later this day it snowed a lot. I am glad I was home when my mate came home, or he may have had a nap instead of seeking help. A lot to be thankful for. I'm even grateful for not having my phone. If I had, I would have missed the wonderful window moment and made myself and others worry about the situation. And instead, I called everyone afterwards with good news. When life got back to normal in a few days, I took up my mindfulness practice, and I noticed that the gratitude spilled over into most of what I did. For example, in the practice of doing something routine like showering, I felt gratitude to parts of my body I don't normally give any thanks, like my toes. And in the shop, I appreciate all the selection of all kinds and think of all the people and work involved. I'm not trying, it just spills over. So if you feel so inclined, I invite you to share some of the strengths that you saw or heard in that story. Ooh, Joe, wow, been keeping a long list. Look at this list: judgment, kindness, humor, prudence. We've got perspective, kindness, humor, appreciation of beauty and excellence, spirituality, gratitude, hope, perseverance, love, hope, gratitude, honesty, love, and so on. Self-regulation, perspective. So I don't know, I can't tell when it's going past so quickly, but I'm guessing we've seen about 14 or 15 strengths between us out of the 24, maybe even more than that. So would it surprise you to know that the lady who wrote this story sees the following strengths: humor, hope, love, and perseverance. So as I said at the beginning, this is both an example of how many strengths come to the fore. This is a person that most of you, probably all of you, don't know. So you don't need to know the person to see the strengths in them. And that's what we're talking about today, is strengths in the world. Strengths in everybody around us. Maybe not even everybody, but everything. I see the curiosity and creativity in the squirrels in my backyard as they figure out how to take the lid off the bird feeder, because it's a weighted bird feeder and they can't hang from the bottom, but they can get in through the top, apparently, if they work together. So that's teamwork as well. It isn't just we humans that show these strengths. They're all around us. So with that, I'm going to plagiarize Ryan's poem for our meditation. So I invite everybody to get into a comfortable position. You can be standing, sitting, lying down, eyes open, eyes closed, whatever is the most mindful and meditative for you. And some of you will remember from the first week that Ryan read his wonderful poem about the world needs you. And I have taken the liberty, with Ryan's permission, thank you, Ryan, to tweak it a little bit, to look at it from the point of view of we need the world. So think on this as we go through this meditation, and it's a little longer than the one I did the other day, so I hope everyone will be patient. I will not be reading it twice because it is long. So, who do you see that has ideas, strategies, and best coping skills? Creativity. Who listens with interest, letting others express and release their burdens? Curiosity. Who models rational and balanced thinking to counterbalance my inner voices of panic and anxiety? Judgment. Who do we see learning and growing in new ways, even during challenging times? Love of learning. Who do we see offering sound advice, a glimpse of the bigger picture amidst the scary details? Perspective. Who is showing bravery to help someone they've never helped, to see the world anew despite their fear? Bravery. Who do we see persevering, pushing through huge obstacles and suffering they've never faced before? Perseverance. Who expresses truthfulness? Now is not a time for exaggeration, fake news, or guesswork. Honesty. Who shows enthusiasm to uplift our energy even when we feel sucked dry from uncertainty and the unknown? Zest. Who expresses warmth and genuineness now? Each ounce is worth 10 times its original value. Love. Where do we see examples of compassion and generosity and active seeking of ways to help? kindness. Who around us expresses empathy? Every city, neighborhood, and being a subject of their concern. Social intelligence. Who shows themselves to be a citizen of a very large group that can choose to be collaborative? Teamwork. Who models fairness instead of hoarding giving, instead of blaming praising, instead of being the victim, the hero? Fairness. Who do you see leading with fresh ideas that will inspire the different groups they belong to? Leadership. Who around us is able to let go of the family irks, slights, and irritations that can fill the mind? Forgiveness. Who do we see putting the attention on others and not on themselves? Humility. Who are examples showing us how to be cautious every time they leave home, at least for now? Prudence. Who appears to be under control, not riddled with anger, but contagious with their peacefulness? Self-regulation. Who do you see inspiring others' goodness, showing how to be altruistic too? Appreciation of beauty. Who is spreading hope and silver linings, offered thoughtfully, as so many around us are falling into cracks of darkness? Hope. Who expresses thanks to show others they see their kind or brave acts and inspires others to do more? Gratitude. Whose humor, playfulness, and ability to create levity when we feel heavy and frazzled gets you through? Humor. Who helps us see we are all in this together, that every action has a preceding action and a consequence? Spirituality. We need you, all of you. Ryan, maybe you could invite the bell.